I want to welcome Seval to the podium here.
Pleasant tornado. Forever I'll be typecast in that role, but if you ask my brother and other family members, never a dull moment when Seval's in the house. I apologize for the hat. I have a bit of an eye infection, which is keeping the lights away from my eyes. So I first want to thank Dr. Rose Blanca and the president and CEO of Washtenaw Community College for hosting this event. I really am grateful. We are all grateful for your kindness and your vigilance in wanting to ensure that we bring the best and the brightest together in this wonderful partnership that you've had for over a decade. So I appreciate that. And I also want to thank Dr. Henry Liu and your team for a magical day yesterday where we were able to see and talk face-to-face with much of the new technology that's driving what the workforce is and mainly the students are developing. So I think it's it's a toast to you all for your combined effort, and we'd love to see that continued and also have a partnership in that in any way we can. So I'm honored to speak today, and I'll make it brief because because my colleague Dr. Faraz Ibrahim took some of the horsepower away, but that's okay. We'll come back. Here we are at the epicenter of mobility innovation. You've had great success not only in the work you're doing, but congratulations to the Wolverines. I think it's an exciting time for you guys to celebrate that. Yesterday's visit to Umtree and M-City was spectacular because it showed in concrete terms the USDOT and OSTR's investment in CCAT is being put to excellent use. And maybe there's one kind of takeaway you all will have, that this administration, and particularly OSTR, is looking for opportunities to advance research and technology towards the acceleration and adoption of deployment at scale of AV technology. So there's one large thought, but it's a simple framework that you all should be thinking about, ensuring that the work that you do, that the students do, that the faculties and academic and partnerships do, encourage and influence the embeddedness of that research in deployment opportunities in the commercial framework. So all of the strong progress you all are making with near-miss detections, digital twins for AV testing, on-road assessments, digital crash testing, mixed reality safety evaluation, live demonstrations in M-City that we saw are clear evidence that CCAT is turning our federal support, taxpayer dollars, into practical research, testing, and safety, which advances automotive and autonomous vehicle technology. Together with federal leadership, I think academia and industry, we help bring about the technical toolkit to bear in improving transportation. The DOT has been a really critical form factor change for us this year because we migrated into a IT backbone that was, we won't necessarily name the names, but you can all look it up. It's a much better toolkit, and now we have the ability to use different forms of AI to crawl a lot of the legislative and policy work that we're doing. When we did the RFI, we did 2 RFIs, but the most recent one was the Transportation Digital Infrastructure. We convened that effort through TRB, and we were able to get about 3,000 pages of comments from you all compiled into substacks and then classification baskets that really drove home what the majority of interest was. And that would have taken months. It took literally 48 hours. So this shows you the power of not only using AI, as Faraz mentioned, in your work, but using it humbly as a way to break through some of the regulatory, some of the research, and really move forward in delivering funding to obligation to award to obligation. At OSTR, Office of the Secretary of Transportation Research and Technology, which I affectionately refer to as oysters, we come to work with a very strong mission. Day in and day out, safety first, innovation always. This is not a mere slogan for our team, but the very backbone of the work which aligns closely with our modal partners and bringing together one of the strongest technical toolkits in government to identify gaps, coordinate across disciplines, and help translate innovation into implementation. In terms of just our ability to talk and communicate, again, Dr. Abraham talked about breaking down the walls. We sit every morning at 8:15 in the Lincoln Room. Every modality administrator, our secretary, deputy secretary, chief of staff, and the deputies in the back, and we go around the room. And we talk about the elements of the day, what we're working on, and after that we have our little schmoozing breakout where we grab each other and we sort of figure out how we can help problems. And there are a lot of problems, and we're addressing them because we are very much of a team that works together and wants to build a better transportation capability for all of you. Pursuing the best advances in automation and what I call an affordable autonomy economy, or ATE. We have coined it. Automated freight is also very much a part of this. The logistics of freight operations, the resiliency on our ports. We're connecting through the journey the different elements of commerce, productivity, manufacturing, and retooling back into this country. We're accelerating the deployment of technology versus merely conducting pilots. So deployment is the only way to scale, and scaling gives us the data to improve our models. I learned very early on at Google, one of the things our founder used to say, you know, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. And that's where we are in the sense that we really do need the data to develop the flywheel and the spin cycles that we need to inform more robust, resilient capability along our roads. At the DOT, and especially within OSTR, we believe that the future of mobility must be safer, smarter, and more connected with more scaled deployment in the world. So along the roadmap, some of the things that we have done is one of the first projects we did was we stood up an AV bus, and I think a couple of you may even be in the room that did that together with us. DC DOT had not had any real exposure to AV technology. Once they got in the bus, once the administrators and the mayor's office rode that bus back and forth between the Navy Yards, our headquarters, and Union Station, Union train station, hearts and minds changed. Right? They saw that it works. Yes, there are some hard braking, there's calibration that's required, but it works for the most part. How would this change the vectorial deployment of affordability of autonomy, right? So it comes in different form factors, and we need to be generous about how we consider those opportunities in different environments. I think one of the things that we need to learn from that experience is we need to understand the environment of what a designated lane for autonomous vehicle capability, how it works with other lanes of operation. I'm not saying dedicated lane, I'm saying designated lane. So you can't necessarily double park in a lane that an autonomous vehicle or bus is coming down. You can't tailgate. You have to be careful in how you nudge and accelerating and cutting in. These are real issues that Dr. Liu's working on with his teams, and I encourage you to think about the vectorial science of transportation. We really do need to start to better understand what the world is going to look like in this transitional environment in the next 5 to 10 years, where we have computers driving the same roads that we have humans driving on. So on the industry side, we have elements of like Avenue, which is doing a lot of digital infrastructure innovation. In Nevada, they've been awarded the USDOT SMART grant to do coordinated data exchange capabilities along the I-80 corridor from California to New Jersey. Other cross-state efforts are also underway, being led by states such as South Dakota and along corridors of I-80, I-85, I-65. Each success story builds the momentum to this 250th anniversary of America. it's fitting to cite the ways that these new technologies are meant to serve all Americans and to appreciate that these innovations and work what that means for the young and the old across all class divides. The Secretary cares a great deal about ensuring that automotive vehicles are for all Americans, and I believe that we have an opportunity now to serve communities where options are limited. Innovation touches every form of someone's life, and the delivery of goods, people, and services in a national secure framework is also something that keeps us up at night. So we're not just delivering and developing safer road systems. We need to make them resilient and robust. That means we need to solve for complementary PNT. We need to solve for redundant GPS. We need to consider nefarious acts as we've seen at the borders and in different aspects of freight travel and travel in general. But last year, we had a huge success. I don't know if you all saw that reduced fatalities in this country was down by 6.7%. So we went from 40,000 to 36,000. Now, I'd love to see that vector continue for a second year. And what does that mean? That means we need to solve for the equation of why autonomous vehicle technology on roads is a safer form of transportation, right? You're looking at avoidance of collisions in a different way that FMVSS is traditionally looking at ameliorating the concerns with vehicular and surrounding vehicular safety. So building a roadmap like this means not resting on our laurels. Technology innovation is very hard work, which means that we are required to collect data, share data, and build a consistency of partnerships and synergistic understandings of what other teams are doing. We saw yesterday the drone capabilities at Blue Flight here in Air City, or I guess is it called Air City? MC, yeah, and UC Berkeley is doing something similar. So there needs to be more and more of cross-communication with some of the UTC conversations, and leadership is now cognizant of that. And I hope at the USDOT we're soon able to reveal a portal which would allow a lot of this exchange to occur, so you all can have benefits of supply chain, vendor discussions, best practices as we approach new common standards. Now let's talk a little bit about those common standards, and I promise you I will be brief. With respect to autonomous vehicle technology deployment, we need to think about preparing our road systems for accepting autonomy. And that means through the TDI, an ability to stand up a back end that links the data infrastructure between states. This is really critical because if states do a good job on their own, but we're not able to translate, cooperate, communicate through endpoints, through a common exchange of data, we can't move from state to state. Therefore, we can't go across, for example, I-10 from port to port. We can't go north and south from Laredo, Texas, up to the Great Lakes. This is something that we feel very strongly about can accelerate, again, those magical words, accelerate the deployment of this technology. So as you all start to think about how you stitch together that operation, it's really imperative that we think about using industry as a way in which we can build that mesh framework and stand it up. Many of those technologies exist right now, and many of the redundant capabilities are going to exist as we put more and more satellites into space. So this whole trajectory of, space, air, drones, EV tolls, terrestrial, marine, and then submersives are going to become one vector of change as we look at geospatial references moving from point to point. So I encourage you in your work to think about how we develop how do we develop a common approach to data standards. I'm not saying we write them. It's not the role of the U.S. government, the federal government, to write those. It's our role to convene and have roundtables and listening sessions so that information gets out. States are already doing a large part of this work, and I really salute them because they have been moving very quickly to develop their own traffic management systems. Now we need to just ensure that those talk to each other. So I want to leave you all with basically saying that the affordable autonomy economy will trigger a renaissance in productivity. It will retool American industry in hardware and software, but not at least it will disrupt old mobility models. We must move from pilots to repeatable deployment service. The future is not about a single technology. There will be multiple winners. It is not a zero-sum game here. So consider what you're doing and how you're implementing is something that might change the way in which people consider movement and deployment across autonomous capability. So the USDOT is proud to stand with you today. And as we look into the 250th year of our history, your work and ours should reveal much to be celebrated. So I thank you all for your hard work. I thank you for your leadership. And I thank you for the ability to come together here today and speak about the work that we love to do. God bless America and bless our sense of purpose as we gather here today. So thank you very much.